All right, the last resource I want to introduce you to is the idea of postvention in the school setting. And I bring this up because, unfortunately, suicides do occur among our youth and in college campuses. And we know that youth in particular are vulnerable to suicide contagion. They're more vulnerable than older individuals. And so there's actually a specific set of guidelines available for preventing that kind of contagion in schools. And so the first thing you want to do is mobilize a crisis response team. Get people together as a team to work on the um, the the unfortunate death by suicide of one of the students. And so you want to get the facts, find out what happened, address cultural diversity, communicate with the deceased family, find out their wishes. But in a school setting, the nature of a student dying is going to impact the whole community. You just cannot get away from it. The students are going to find out, and they're going to ask questions. They're going to start talking with each other, and you want to be ahead of it. You want to be ready and prepared to communicate with them, as opposed to students, sharing information with each other. And you want to help them cope. You want to schedule meetings in small groups, help students express their emotions, reach out to the parents so that the parents are aware of what's happening, and because students don't always tell their parents what's happening at school. You want to work with the community, engage with the coroner if that's needed, police officers, local government, funeral director, mental health providers, faith community leaders. You want to get just reach out to the resources that you have available. You want to manage, and this is an important one. I want to point it out. You want to manage desire for memorials. So there's a few things that you shouldn't do. You shouldn't hold the memorial service on campus. Unfortunately, it can kind of create this environment that it brings the grieving process very specifically into the campus setting, where they often feel like they cannot get away from it because the service was held on campus. You want to also set some limits on memorials. Now, students, of course, want to remember their peer, perhaps their friend who died by suicide, and certainly there's a appropriate way that we memorialize, and it's helpful for the grieving process. But the risk of memorials is that sometimes other students can say, "Oh, wow, I that's powerful. People are crying over this person who is now dead. They're seeing the reaction that happens to people, and sometimes it can impact them to make them say, "Wow, I want people to cry for me. I want people to have a memorial set up for me." And that is that's of course a risk factor for suicide contagion. And so setting it up so that you can have some structure for the memorials is an important one. And one of the things they recommend is to make it meaningful. If you have a memorial set up, have it up for a time and then deliver it to the family. And then there's a sense that the family is receiving this, so it's not lost, but it is it's a tribute to the person who died. And then also you want to manage online memorials. So generally you encourage that for only up to 60 days. Yearbook memorials should include a suicide prevention message. So talk about preventing suicide, suicide is preventable. And you want to effectively engage social media and decrease rumors and harmful content. And that's a challenge, but it's an important part of the modern life that we live. Now, all that is not enough if you're actually dealing with this. If you're a school counselor or school psychologist, and or any kind of administrator at a school. And so there is actually and I'll move it over here. And this is available on the website sprc.org, that it's a toolkit for schools after a suicide to do a postvention. And um, and so I'll just kind of go over this briefly with the table of contents. Again, my last slide is entirely from this resource. So you want to develop a crisis response team, help students cope, work with the community, work with the media if needed, deal with memorialization, suicide, social media, and be aware of suicide contagion. And and this is an important resource for, if you're doing this kind of work, to know that it's out there. And again, that you don't have to figure this out on your own. So again, this is just a reminder to seek out resources that are already creative, because there might be there. And one of the final exam questions, so looking forward to that, is actually about how would you deal with a suicide death within the student body, and how would you communicate that to students and parents. And so that's a really tricky thing to deal with. And so one assignment is to write an email to the students to inform them of the students passing, and just wanting to encourage you to learn how to communicate in a professional, emotionally appropriate, emotionally intelligent way to students, to people who are impacted by that suicide death, and do that in a way that can minimize contagion and maximize the coping that can happen with a situation like this. All right, so yeah, hope you enjoyed that. Hope that was helpful for some of you, and I'll stop the recording there.